Hey, welcome to the Runaways podcast. My name is Cody. We are back. We're going to talk about probably some spoiler stuff because, everyone's excited about it. But also, is Enigma dead or dying or almost dead? But we'll get into that. I am joined this week by Lucas again. Welcome back. How's it going?
Good.
How's your week of not playing Fab or
Uh,
school?
it's been all right. It's been just kind of boring. My life's been like pretty boring for a few months actually. So I haven't been doing a whole lot. There's been chilling around, being semi-productive, but I'm happy to be here. I actually have things that I'm excited for now, which is nice. I was a little bit sus on this set when I first saw the hero abilities. I was unimpressed, but the last week or so of spoilers has gotten me interested. I am very interested in two new heroes, and uh, Arachne Marionette and Syndra are also cool, I guess.
We'll see. It's about to get not boring because next weekend is going to be like pre-release, right? And then the weekend after that is going to be Memphis. So we're about to kick back up. Noah, you're back. How's your week been? Have you played any Flesh and Blood at all yet?
No, I've just been hardcore grinding PoE too. I feel like I got off to a slow start, so then I had to ramp up because all those people who played the first one had the head start. I've been playing a build that is very reminiscent of Ice Lexi, where you just like don't let the opponent play the game at all. So that's been fun.
That's fair. It is a single player game, so it's fine if they don't play the game.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay. Dan, how's it been? I know you were playing some Bizarre right before this, but have you done anything League of Legends or anything Flesh and Blood related?
Yeah, I just played my usual one armory for the week. That was it though. I'm excited to be excited, but until we get the full set, I'm kind of just chilling. Was doing a lot of like behind the scenes Runaways work this week.
Yeah, I saw the messages. Exciting stuff coming. I do appreciate all your hard work with that.
Yeah, that's good timing.
Yeah, I've been playing Flesh and Blood because I'm working on the Vinset list for the Hero of the Month, and then it's funny because I'm like working on this deck, and then we just see like Vinsets doing well at Battle Hardens all of a sudden, which is pretty funny. Okay, this week I wanted to talk about Enigma because I think in the last like 3 Battle Hardens, it's actually been some pretty poor results for the deck that was kind of deemed the best or one of the best decks in the entire meta. It did take down like the previous calling that we were at. But since then, it's been played a little bit less than, a lot of other decks. And then also its representation in the top 8, while it's had some top 8s, it is not being able to close out any of the tournaments. And so it's kind of like, in my opinion, a step down from the deck that I think everyone's terrified of. It's still holding its place where it's keeping some decks out of the game, but it does seem to be like it should, in theory, be better than it currently is. Like, it feels like everyone in all the news have figured out the matchup. Like, everyone is switching to new, and then they're just like, no one's terrified of like the Enigma matchup.
That's my biggest question. Like, are news beating more Enigmas now? Because otherwise, I don't know if I fully buy that it's like an Enigma issue more than just like variance.
Yeah, it could easily.
But if the
be
news
variance.
have like turned the corner, then yeah, this Enigma's pretty bad. If it's just like an underdog to the most popular decks.
New claims they've turned the corner. People are switching to new, and they
I just don't play new, so I don't know if it's true.
Playable. If we look at like the top 8, so I'll go through them like a little quickly here. But like we had Atlanta, there was one Enigma that topped in Atlanta. It ended up being double Zen finals, so it was like Zen, Viserai, Prism, Azalea, Ira, and then one Enigma. Which I think that's a US one, so that's a little unusual because the US Enigma numbers have been, pretty decent. And then you look at Toronto, there were 2 Enigmas in the top 8, but they just kind of got ran over by the Zen decks. And then also there was a Viserai and a new in the top. And then if you look at Hong Kong, there were 0 Enigmas, and it was it was just Aurora, Ira, new, Aurora, Ira, Dorinthia, new.
I hesitate to
Yeah.
make too many claims based on a top 8 that includes multiple Iras and multiple Auroras. Aurora
Yeah,
less
but
so,
like
obviously. I
aggro
feel
is
like,
pretty hot right now, so like Enigma
yeah,
winning less often
I,
makes sense. Like,
yeah, I'm not that surprised. I've also, I don't know, Battle Hardens. I think usually are not super representative of how formats are as a whole.
I don't know. The Toronto one was 200 people. I mean, that's pretty close to like
I
what
mean,
you could expect.
I guess, yeah. That's fair. The bigger ones are for sure. I've played so many Battle Hardens where like you hear stories of like Atlanta Battle Harden like last year where shout out to this guy by the way, but the guy who played Levia who just showed up with 60 cards and equipment and top aided, and it's like nothing against that guy or any of his accomplishments. Obviously, it's actually very impressive, but like that's the kind of thing where it's like I think a lot of the time battle hardens don't have enough rounds to filter out some of the decks that maybe would not normally be in the top 8. And
And almost every battle harden comes down to tiebreakers too, where there's like a
yeah,
bunch of people with the same record, and some of them get in, some of them don't. It's
yeah,
like we don't know if like 9 to 16 was like 5 enigmas, right?
yeah. When it's like you have like a 7 round event, and it's like if you just play a bad deck, but you just play against random things and you just win some games 5 times in a row, like that's pretty easy to do. And then you top 8, but then somebody playing a good deck well can go 5-2.
I don't know how relatable this is going to be. It's like, oh yeah, you just show up, you like play all right, you win 5 in a row. It's casual, not that hard.
It's not that hard at battle hardens.
I
Like
know
I don't know,
these
like
things
there's a lot of
happen.
random stuff that goes on. I don't know.
Fair.
I've played too many battle hardens to put stock into them. I've had too
I think
many.
also there's a non-zero element of people wanting to get like pseudo preparation for the next set, where like basically all the Draconic Ninja appears to be as like a different skin of Aurora, where maybe better, maybe worse. And then we're getting a new assassin, so maybe more people picking up new, that kind of thing. Just like playing decks that
or
emulate the playstyle of future decks to get like more familiar with their card pool and playstyle.
or just not playing decks that they think are gonna LL. Like
Yeah,
obviously people are
exactly
still
that too.
playing Zen and Viserai, but I wouldn't be surprised if all of those heroes like naturally go down a little. It's also possible that they're suffering from not having like standardized lists as much. Like I still see a lot of the Enigma decks look very different, and they haven't necessarily agreed upon how to adapt to the current meta. At least that's my impression. Whereas like the Viserai and the Zen decks, like people can pretty easily just like copy and paste our lists from Worlds, and they're like pretty close to good. And innovations on those two lists and the similar lists from events around them, like Nick Butcher's list and things like that, like they're just not very different. They're all pretty similar for those two heroes, and
what
they're
about
pretty
Naive's
easy.
list?
Naive is just a complete other variable. I just assume that if Naive's playing a list, whatever list is
That's like
different
the
from
list now.
that
That's like the
is
most
probably the
recent
standard.
tournament winning list, right?
Technically,
I think he's like unnet deckable. You
no,
like
no,
can't
no,
copy
no.
a naive
Toronto,
deck and do well with it.
Yeah, because
Toronto is the most recent. winning
Oh,
list,
I
right?
forget Zen wins every weekend. My bad.
Yeah. Zen was dead. We brought it to Worlds. People finally found out that Zen was good, and now everyone wins all the tournaments with Zen.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's
Everyone
possible.
but us.
Except for us.
Not us. Can't be us.
As is tradition. I will say this. Do you think Enigma's good going into what we've seen from the Hunted, going to that style meta?
No.
Oh
What?
no. God
Okay.
no.
God no.
She's gonna stick around and linger for quite a while, I think. Unfortunately.
Dude, it's like Warrior got like Warrior has gotten like 4 majestic and above cards, and they're all like good into Enigma. Or at least potentially good into Enigma. Like they all do things in that matchup. And then
I mean,
like
she might be good enough just like on power alone, but like
I think people write off illusionists every format, and then
Yeah.
illusionist players
No.
find
Well,
a way to make their deck good.
we have a ninja.
but Syndra
that
has like the berry turn like Zen used to have. Like you draw spreading flames and now Enigma's at like 14.
Yeah. Well, and like we have a new ninja who has a 2-card hand that goes 1, 1, 2 plus 2 damage, 1, 1. Oh, the last is just a flick knife damage. Like that's so like she can't deal with that. I just cannot imagine she gets better after this.
Just got to make a Zen state somehow.
Yeah, Flick Knife
Assassin-
does seem like pretty solid, right? If
Yeah.
there's multiple decks flicking.
Assassin
Sin-
also gets more pick to pieces, because they have the new card that just like can get back pick to pieces if you need it to. If you're playing one of the Mark Assassins, like
And that does count as the reaction, right? Or no?
yeah, it counts as a react. Yeah,
Like for turning on pick to
Mm-hmm.
pieces, that's pretty cool.
that's why it works with like bonds. Like you can just go like flick knives, flick Mark of the Huntsman, play that, get back bonds, play.
What's the name of it, Lucas? You should say the name. We
Oh,
talked about
sorry,
it too
it's
much now.
here I have it in just 1 second.
That
Does
card
it
is
take
up the
mantle?
wild.
Yeah, take up the mantle.
Yeah.
That card is just like bonkers, and it's also just good into Enigma. Obviously, Warrior gets Jagged Edge and friends, and then we have a Ninja. Like I don't know. Like I just cannot imagine that Enigma looks better.
It's gotta be like the best position ninja against that type of deck too.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Like there's literally a 2-card hand that goes 1/1, 2/2, 1/1. Like what could you ask for?
And
Like,
it's kind of funny too if Enigma is like defending, and that means she's basically always going to be marked.
Yeah.
Because like she's like not letting herself get hit, which then makes it
Yeah.
easier for the opponent to hit her.
Yeah, she just stays marked.
So I'll ask this then. Is this actually kind of a negative? Because I think the way it was looking before was that Enigma
Yeah, she
was
might not
probably
LL.
going to LL pretty quickly, and because she's going to be played. So irregardless of how good Enigma is, we know there will be at tier 4 level events. We know there will be a decent enough handful of people playing it. This is evident by the fact when it couldn't beat Zen at all, and a bunch of people brought it to Amsterdam. So with that said, it means that her power to make people have 0% matchups into her, which still exists, and we don't know to the extent it will continue to exist. Like the new Warrior could still have a terrible matchup into Enigma. But because she's not powerful enough to just LL, because she's still pretty far away, 310 points is quite a lot of points to be away. Do you think we're actually might end up seeing her into like past April?
I expect her to be legal for London and probably still not legal for Nats. But
Yeah, ProQuest for sure is
yeah,
the end of the road.
I don't know. It's we'll see. Because the interesting thing I think will just be her adoption rate during the RTN and ProQuest season. Because like you said,
Yeah,
I
everyone
expect
plays new heroes.
Yeah, like there will always be Enigmas at the tier 4s and the callings and everything, and they'll do something. But like that's not where I expect her to get points. Like I expect her to get points from local events, and if people think she's poorly positioned and they're kind of bored of her, and you know she's far away and she's not going to die immediately, like I could see people just being like, I don't want to play Enigma. Like I just want to play a new hero, or I want to play some other deck that's well positioned. Like,
Yeah, we do know locally that aggro decks get picked up at a pretty high clip.
Mhm.
Like Aurora is a good example of this.
Mhm.
So I do expect to see Syndra probably have pretty substantial numbers of play during the RTN season. That's at least the hero that we can look at right now with the cards that are currently spoiled and her kit that exists and know this is a functional hero.
yeah,
Like we know that Syndra is a functional hero.
yeah,
If it goes beyond that into great, is possible. We know it's not going to be a bad hero. We know it's going to be a functional level so far.
yeah. I mean, she's like B tier now before a legendary, like, or before any legendaries. I would say I think maybe like lower B tier, but like at least my impression so far is like she has the strengths of Phi, where you can just use your hand on offense every turn and do slightly above rate damage, but she just has more good stuff that you can do. And she has these like I've been like going through the line. She has these really annoying things to deal with. Like it's impossible to block 6 against that deck, like so much of the time. And I think that'll be one of her strengths that kind of goes under the radar is like you can legitimately do like 14 damage without letting your opponent block with 2 cards for 3. Like that's pretty ridiculous.
Yeah.
So-
doing true damage is good. I think.
So
Go ahead.
I was going to say, I'm just concerned that now we will not see an Enigma LL even after the ProQuest season. Her adoption at that level has always been pretty low.
Yeah.
Even during the last season when she was really good, she got points, of course, and she did win a decent amount of events. But her adoption at those events would be like one person would show up with it, or 2 people would show up. But they happen to be usually like the best player in the room or somewhere close to that, and they would take it down. But if we start seeing matchups that counter her in a way, like Syndra show up in force, that could suppress that. I'm now worried that even after the Pro Tour and the Pro Quest season after that, well, still have an Enigma in the format.
Yeah,
It's
I could
possible,
also
but
see
I'm
it.
doubtful it goes that long.
I could also see her have one of those RTN seasons where like week one, like Aurora and all these decks are doing super well, but then maybe we see like her evolve. One nice thing about RTN and ProQuest season is we see the very rapid evolution of like step one, step two, step three, like play aggro deck, oh play disruptive deck, oh play illusionist because it beats disruptive deck or whatever it is. We see that like play out, and so I wouldn't be surprised if Enigma is like easily the most winning hero in week 3 or whatever, and then the other weeks she's just kind of middling. Like
I
maybe
think
we see like Dory and New Arachne and some other warrior or like Guardian like randomly start doing well and preying on these aggro decks, and then it's like boom, Enigma wins 35 RTNs next week because people decided that Victor was like a functional hero.
yeah, this is what I was gonna say. You got like the
Yeah.
level 3 of the meta, right?
Yeah.
Where you just like Enigma's beating the decks that beat the new decks.
Mhm.
But then there's also the possibility, if you look at like Enigma decks, they usually play infinite generic cards. There's still like a chance we get a couple generic cards that help Enigma, like
Mhm.
more tools to help her protect her board. Because like usually limited sets have some sort of balancing factor, so you don't just like take a bunch of damage from decks going wide. Like
Yeah.
if there's any kind of wide damage prevention that comes out, I think that would be pretty solid for her to like add to the kit.
There could also
Yeah.
just be an illusionist expansion slot card. Like that's just
Yeah,
could be.
we're still missing some expansion slots. Yeah, we make it another dust, or we make
Yeah, I
it
was
an
gonna say,
Enigma card.
have we done the dust yet?
no.
I
There it is.
think before the set completely came out, I was like pretty sure that Enigma was going to be playable in London, but there was always that chance that maybe it wouldn't be. And then I was like 100% confident that it was going to be gone in ProQuest. Now I'm like 100% sure it's going to be legal for London. Like I have like
Yeah.
no question that it's LLing before London.
Yeah.
And now
I think it's possible still.
I don't think there's a
I
shot
think she
that
would have had to
it
win
does.
some of these callings and battle
Yeah,
hardens and
I agree.
I think there would have been a path, but like we're almost done with all the important stuff. We have like Memphis and a couple other events before then, but
She can win Memphis.
She has to win Memphis. To
Bunch
have
of
a shot at
unoptimized
LLing
decks
before.
running around.
I think it's likely that she probably has to win Memphis and then some number of I don't know if there I think there are other callings
Really?
and battle hardens before.
Aren't there 1,500 points for the season? Or is that wrong?
There are.
Okay.
I
I
don't
don't know.
think
I feel like
she-
her range is like between 60 and like 320. Like, I don't know what Enigma players think. Like, even if she's like the worst deck in format based on the meta, like people will still play her and think
Yeah.
she's the best.
Sure.
You know who's gone 100%? Zen. 100% gone.
And Viscera.
Like,
I
maybe
think him
like-
and Viscera
maybe
might
like-
both go the first week.
Maybe like week 1 RTN, Zen is gone.
I think Zen and Viscerai are so abundantly, obviously, non-negotiably not legal for Pro Tour. Like, there's just no way that those heroes are around. I feel. So if you're like prepping for London, I think it's safe to just assume those decks are not legal because there's just no way. Like,
Yeah.
there's just no way. I think.
And I would assume that Enigma is legal. That's
I would
my
also
assumption
assume
going
that
into
Enigma. Interestingly, I could see maybe Enigma ticks up if maybe the new heroes don't have super high representation. If Zen and Viscerai LL quickly, and people are just looking for something to play in this new meta because it's post Zen ban, it's post Viscerai ban. Enigma doesn't have to deal with those decks. She doesn't have to deck build for those decks. Maybe she can take more for like the assassin matchup, for example. And then maybe we see Enigma be like very good for the last few weeks while people are still figuring out what to do because maybe they don't want to play new heroes and the old guard of the two best decks in the format, in my opinion. Maybe new is like also up there, but whatever. But like with Zen and Viscerai gone, I could see Enigma upticking just in terms of like we don't know what else to play, but we're trying to grind and we're just trying to get our free invite. I'm just going to play Enigma and mirror guy my way into top 4.
possible. I guess we will see.
I did that in a battle.
It's just funny how if you go back a couple of months, everyone's just like, Enigma is just the best. This is so oppressive and horrible to play against. And now people are like, yeah, that Enigma deck's like whatever. Like, yeah, I can't play my good decks, but who would have thought Zen actually still best deck? No one could have predicted
And
that.
new Zen and new still just the best decks. Who would have thought?
Speaking of new, we have seen a major adoption of new and people talking about playing new. I guess probably in anticipation for this set, but showing up to the Battle Hardens on new. What do we think of the fact that New's about to get a whole bunch of new cards? Essentially, can play all the cards that are coming out.
Not thrilled.
Yeah,
I think
I'm already an assassin hater. I don't want to. We'll see what
nice.
happens.
I like when
so far,
assassin plays like assassin cards. Assassin's just like annoying when they have a bunch of generic cards. But I think now it's like if they're playing assassin cards, they're like I mean, they're never predictable, right? It's kind of their whole gimmick, but they're at least more. They'll be presenting a deck with generally the same disruption into you regardless. You won't get like caught off guard because I'm a new and I'm randomly teching in like Erase Face or Humble or something for this one matchup. Their deck will be like more centralized towards the assassin card, so they won't like brick on the reactions and stuff.
I don't buy that them having more broken cards instead of poopy generics is a good thing. I just don't. I don't believe in
Like
that.
playing new.
Dude, these cards are great. Like so many of these new cards are like
You're allowed to at the top of the deck list with Lucas Oswald put new and like you can play the hero. It's not illegal.
Oh no,
like,
I mean I might. I've been playing new recently. It's fun.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, dude. I wanted to have good cards.
I don't know. I don't like that she gets all these cards because I'm. Oh man, some of these cards are broken.
You're just not providing like any concrete logic. Why do you not
my,
like
my
it?
main thought is
They're just very powerful. Like they're just very obviously powerful. Like Mark of the Black Widow is obviously powerful. Take Up the Mantle is obviously powerful.
yeah,
Like,
if we start recurring bonds of agony, I think Snag is back on the menu.
yeah, I actually think it might have to be because like honestly,
that's what I'm saying. Like, it's just if we're playing 6 of these in a game now, like every other turn we're getting bombed.
There's
before
9. You have Codex. Like you can do that.
Before everyone gets too excited,
Yeah,
it does mean that new has to mark heroes in order
I agree.
to take up the mantle.
It's and that's okay. I don't think it's like straight up broken. Like it's not like she's broken. She plays all these new cards and she's just crazy. It's just that that's not the hero that I would have been happiest for them to get a bunch of new cards and a new engine that's maybe very good and potentially just unreasonably unfun to play against. Because like if we're
I feel
being
like the answer
real,
is just ban Codex. Yeah. Like I watched that Vincent gave on stream, man, and I was like so heartbroken. Like he's doing everything to like try and to close out the game, and the news is like, skip your turn with Codex. Skip your turn with Codex. It's like, what are we doing?
Yeah, I don't know.
Like, we're gonna disrupt every turn, and like we finally get through. Don't like invalidate all of that with one card.
No.
I do think it is possible for the first time that Codex might actually seriously be looked at as a ban after they get all of these new cards.
I don't buy it.
I do not think they will make the ban, but I think the odds of it being justifiable might actually finally get there. Because I think before this, it was always a powerful card, but people are allowed to have powerful cards and it's fine. It's like one of their power cards. But getting a whole bunch of new stuff on top of having that might end up at least pushing it into the realm of people being more wanting.
I just think with everything they took away too, it's like, I think it's an awakening territory now, where it just like entirely trivializes the game to the point of like, why did I bother playing this game?
I think, I don't know. I feel like they would have, maybe not.
One of the biggest drawbacks for Codex in the past was like you draw it with a bunch of reacts and then it's bricked, but then they keep printing these cards that let you react on your daggers. So now like that failure condition is just not a thing anymore. And that's why I think now it's just like
there's just like more go again as well. Like they just printed a hero that just like gives go again. Like I was talking before this, but like there's if you're playing against like Arachne Slip Through the Cracks, for example, like if they play like an Infect or whatever with 2 cards in hand, like I think we might be getting to the point where there might just be too many things that you can do with Assassin when you just like play your attacks, where it's like there's too many threats where like you get so punished for guessing wrong, and there's so many different things it can be. Like they can go Codex afterwards. They can play Take Up the Mantle and they can bonds you just out of nowhere. They can just play like Spike with Blood Rod into Razor's Edge. Like there's just so much stuff.
I mean, these plays you're talking about are like not actually plays. Like if they have 2 cards in hand, how are they casting a 1 cost and a 0 cost? Or like how are they bondsing off of just 2 cards in hand? unless
No,
they're
I
like
was, I
stacking
was, I
equipment as
was.
well.
A lot of these lines involve tunic, although they can absolutely bonds without. Like, you just go black
Not
tech.
in Arachne.
Yeah, you just go black tech, flick knives, take up the mantle, boom, did it.
Yeah, but that's like a huge cost. Like you're throwing all your black decks forever. You're flicking a dagger. Then you
Yeah,
like have to do work to
it's
get
just
back.
that that's like something you can do.
Yeah, but I don't know. I think
I don't
they've
think
done a
it's a
decent job
problem.
balancing it, where like they're a lot of these effects are contingent on the opponent being marked. So like
Mm.
you can't really chain these effects turn after turn. I mean, you can draw godly, right, and draw like a unconditional mark card, assassin card, react, codex every turn. I mean, you're a gamer, but I
Yeah,
think
no,
most of the time, like it'll be on turn, off turn kind of thing with marking.
I'm not like dooming on these super hard. It's just I think that it's getting to the point where there might be too wide of a threat density. But I do like that they're all very much like hidden behind different kinds of restrictions. So it feels okay, but we'll see.
Doesn't Arachne Slip become like infinitely better once New's gone?
I mean, it's just that
Of
yeah,
course.
yeah. I mean, of course,
Like the deck, like the hero ability is really powerful.
yeah,
It's just like
it's probably
unplayable right now.
unplayable right now because there's at least one, maybe two other good assassins, and I just don't know how in Assassin Mirror, where one of you has a hero ability and the other one also has your hero ability, like the way you want to go. Like you're like two legs down. You're like starting. You're like, I have this hero ability. That's why I'm playing this one. And they're like, I have a talent and also your hero ability. It's like I don't know about all that, but we'll see. I guess maybe it just doesn't matter.
It is kind of cool too if the warriors end up playing some of the cards that care about daggers. Like if they play those as blues, then New can like steal them and have them be kind of juiced up.
Is that cool or just scary?
That's so cool. Like when New was first spoiled, I wanted to like do all the cool stuff. Like I wanted to play my opponent's deck, but they just like never really materialized. But maybe not.
Man,
Dude, imagine you go like spider like beckoning Mistblade for like 6.
Yeah, dude, that's so hot.
Like all your daggers stuff. Like you could
That's what I'm
totally
trying
do
to
that.
It's so depressing watching like I was watching some of the streams and there'd be like a Victor versus a New or something. And the Victor's like doing great. They are doing great. They can win the game. And you're like, oh, they might pull it off. And then New is at like 6. And they're like, okay, time to play your cards. I win the game on the spot. Doesn't matter what the health total is. Doesn't matter how much pressure you had. Doesn't matter how much setup you have. I'm just going to play 2 of your cards and win the game on the spot.
Yeah,
It was like, and it was every single game. It would be the same way. I'm just like, that's not right, man. Yeah. Like you guys are competing fairly. And then all of a sudden you're like, nah, I just win. Like it's just guaranteed.
That's what I'm saying about Codex.
Maybe.
What?
Maybe. I don't know. I'm excited to see how it plays out. And
Yeah,
I will have to be taking a look at Assassin for sure this set.
Yeah, I feel like it doesn't currently look broken. I don't see anything that's like very clearly like the game's not good or this hero is very clearly too powerful. But when you do have one of the best heroes in the game, right? New is one of the best decks in the game right now. When you have that getting a whole set of cards she can play, a lot of which look very reasonable to play, it's definitely something to keep an eye on and just be
even if she just replaces some of her bad blue stealth cards with better blue stealth cards, like
or just better
even
blue.
that is just massive, right? Like, well, she needs a certain amount of 1 power blue stealth cards for the deck to function. So if she just like takes some of the ones that are bad and puts in some that are not as bad, you're just like, that's a major upgrade.
Yeah, I mean, you just play like Mark of the Black Widow and Reaper's Call and together. That's like the whole engine. That's all you need, and it's already better than like Bonds of Memory in a lot of matchups.
Yeah, I do think since we're talking about a bunch of the spoiler heroes in general, I do think Syndra, we mentioned it before, looks very good and very fun to play.
I'm so excited for it.
I'm a little nervous about the unblockable free damage every round, or almost every round. Because it's like worse than Kodachi Lock. It's not even a Kodachi Lock that you can like interact with. It's like, no. Every round you take 2 damage for free.
Well, so far,
you can interact with it if you have like graveyard removal cards, right? I'm pretty sure she won't be able to get back her stuff every single turn.
On prevention effects.
It's I mean, there's counterplay, but I agree with Cody. It does feel a little bit weird that like you might be at like it'll be a game where it's like 20-20. and one of you is playing a value deck that's trying to block with multiple cards, and then the Syndra takes like 2 to 3 turns in a row where she just like attacks you for 1 like 7 times, and it's like we didn't like.
Is that something that happens in real life? That you attack for 7 times?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
There are lines.
it's like
with
very
Syndra
easy.
that
It's very
can do
easy.
that.
Blood Runs Deep is like the biggest culprit, but like you can legitimately do like 8. I think you can get like 10 or 11 pings of 1 in a turn if you like craft your.
Oh, you're saying not literally just attack for 7 times. You're saying there are 7 points of 1 threatened on it.
Like flick, like
Okay.
you can, because you can go like dagger, Blood Runs Deep, Syndra, dagger, flick knives, and that by itself is like, I mean, I would keep
Yeah,
talking
I see what you're saying. Okay, yeah.
line, but like you can do
You're
that.
mixing up other damage within the
Mhm.
1/1.
Yeah, and you can have
Anyone
like
you're not picking, she's got really good numbers on some of these lines.
yeah, and it's like all of this stuff is pretty good rate as well, right? And this is like maybe you have a Spreading Flames, and all of this is just more, or like you just have like so many ways to just like go over the top and.
She is definitely seems unfatigable.
I think
I'm
unfatigable
pretty.
unless you have a gimmick. I feel like she's like hyper fatigable if you can like, let's say you
If
like.
you have some way of disrupting like the daggers, like I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure. If
Yeah,
you
yeah,
have,
yeah.
like, a way
I'm
of
not.
throwing-
I'm assuming
Mhm.
she gets to do her thing at
Yeah.
the whole.
Well,
the game.
that's
I'm
like
not that you take one of her daggers out of her graveyard while it's in there.
Well,
yeah, that might end up being a counter. But like, if you're just sitting down to just like block out this
you
deck,
can
I don't think that's
also-
possible.
I don't know. I think there's different gimmicks that you can do, like Jarl. Like I feel like Jarl is probably pretty reasonably positioned to fatigue a deck like this, where like in the end, like you kill their flick knives and then you just give them a frostbite all the time, and it's like you can just block cards and give frostbites, and that's your whole game plan. But like
You do have to kill a piece of their armor, right?
she looks
like
yeah, but that's I mean
Yeah.
they can't interact with that. They can't do anything. About that.
Maybe full power CYB could have a chance of not full fatiguing, but giving you enough space to be able to kind of fatigue. But
Yeah,
she seems very good against defensive decks.
I would agree with that. I think she's very weak to gimmick or to like things that defensive decks do that aren't blocking. I would say she's good against blocking. I'm suspicious of how she plays into actual literal defensive decks that like disrupt you and try and.
It does seem like a lot of her lines too involve like specific cards being in hand. So if it's the kind of disruption where they're like plucking a card, it seems like it could be pretty backbreaking.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, it's pretty easy to make just standard stuff, like not even going like that above rate, but like dagger, draconic card, flick, whole thing back, go move on with your life. It's like
You just dagger again, and then next turn you go dagger, flick, bring them both back.
all this stuff's like very reasonable. Like it doesn't even need any of the power cards, but it's really annoying to deal with. Like the automatic damage. I think it's being I think it's being discounted too much. That point that you can't ever block, plus you swung 1/1, is essentially 3. It's like 3 free damage every round.
I think
Yeah, it
people
depends on
also
the deck, though. Like if you just outvalue that every turn, doesn't matter, right?
I think people also like for the fatigue thing, like the fact that you can do it on their turn is also, I think, kind of something that nobody's talking about. But it's kind of like Fi, where you have this like ability to just like loop because you can add your stuff back on their turn. Like you can just go dagger, they die, whatever. Maybe I flick them, get it back and throw it again. Right, next turn, just do it on your turn. Swing, my turn, get them back, and you can kind of go like that.
This deck is pretty hard to play against misfail heroes, though. I mean, we talked about Enigma. It has some natural stuff like that, but just like Passover is a problem, right?
Yeah, you can respond with Syndra, right? So that's like
well, if you play Passover correctly, you do it in response to Syndra.
You do it in response to their Syndra.
Yeah, like you have
sure. If you have like double chi or you're like sacking a whole card to do it, there is counterplay. But you can also play like Concealed Blade as your blue, right? You can just have like 3 Concealed Blade in your blue slot, and then
you can also just like sub Ember Blade.
I don't see that, but
could.
I don't know about that one.
I think there's potential for it.
I don't know why you'd be Syndra.
It would be a legal thing you could.
Well, because you need to win a matchup that's unwinnable with daggers would be the reason.
Oh, it's like Hatchet Dory playing Dawnblade, you mean?
Correct.
Where it's like you're 5, but you're playing Syndra for.
I don't think you can reasonably have a main deck that's geared towards both of those.
I mean, we've only seen like 10 of her cards. Like, I don't know either. I'm just saying it's an option. Emberblade's kind of busted.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know. I mean, there's a bunch left. I think it's just interesting. This is one of the
She has a
sets-
great starting point.
Yeah, I feel like I really have.
If she gets one more like scaling card, she's
Yeah.
I think immediately like S tier.
If you can make
Like Spending
fealties
Flames,
too,
that
you can
is.
like you could do Emberblade after something that's not even really draconic, right? You could just like play normal ninja stuff.
Yeah, I haven't really seen people
Yep.
talking about them enough. Like all of these dagger lines are great, but like marking people and then making fealty and then playing these broken 1-for-5s is also just crazy.
Yeah, but skipping that whole quest until we find out how easy it is to get to the quest and the deck still being good is like
Yeah.
pretty premium.
No,
right?
I
Like,
agree. Like this hero seems crazy. Like they have these power cards lying in wait, just waiting for
Yep.
like a legendary or something to be spoiled that maybe just makes them like broken.
Yeah, it can go a lot of ways. But
Yeah.
if you built a deck right now, like we were saying, it's probably just playable already.
It also worth noting is not once per turn to like mark them or to make a fealty if you hit a marked hero. So like if you are able to mark them multiple times in a turn, you can like make a bunch of fealties in one turn.
and she has
Wait, does that
blocks.
work? Maybe I'm stupid. I don't know the rules.
What?
Does that work if you like say they're marked
Okay.
and then you flick and then the dagger, it says the dagger's hit.
Mhm.
So does that make a fealty?
Yeah.
So you can just like make a fealty and they have no, like they can't even block around it.
Correct.
You need prevention effects.
Yes.
That sounds wild.
Unpreventable damage is very good.
I mean, like we said before, there's a good chance we'll see like some common prevention for draft, right?
Yeah, but still, you just mark them, dude.
Well,
And you
and
make fealty. You mark them and they can't do anything about it, and you fealty them and they can't do anything about
You
it.
got to kill the flick knives, man.
Dude,
We're
imagine
gonna
having
start
an
playing
opponent.
like Combustion Point and this new Art of Dragon to kill
Wow.
equipment.
Yeah. So maybe that that draconic thing will be like the mirror tech, the one that you play is like channeling
liquefy.
for.
We're
Yeah,
liquefying
to
each
kill their
other's flick knives.
to kill their flick knives, dude.
In our
That's what
three
the mirror would be all about.
in our
We can also use Art of
mirrors,
Dragon.
we're liquefying people's 1-block equipment. It's crazy, but
I don't know if it's actually that because she has a lot of 3 blocks. Like she has a decent amount of 3 blocks for
Yeah.
But if
aggro
you're
deck.
swinging everything for one, like you're not blocking everything.
dude, you can't block her for 3.
3 blocks are completely irrelevant if you're just like swinging ones and twos.
Well, it would be like 1-1-3 something.
You know what does
one,
block this
like-
stuff actually though that I'm really
Right.
excited about? Take it on the chin. That's what I'm excited for. I'm excited to look all
That
these
card
sinners
seems
in the eyes
crazy
and
in
make a
this
damn
meta.
agility. What'd you say?
That card seems crazy good in this meta,
Yeah.
or against like hunted heroes.
You could even play the other one too, right? The one that makes the vigor token.
Oh yeah. I mean, you totally like that's like not unreasonable. I think in this meta.
Wait, don't you just like blank the take it on the chin with flick knives?
Yeah, but you would just
No, you block the flick knives with the take.
yeah,
it on
it's
the
just
chin.
one. It's take it on the
Oh,
chin
sure.
is you prevent the next 2 damage, right? It's not the next time you would be dealt damage.
It's the next time you beat.
No, it's the next time you beat
block
out.
2 of it.
Regardless,
It'd be so much.
regardless.
Cool.
I mean, that's a pretty big regard.
Yeah.
Playing a card for preventing one is a little bit suspect.
We get an agility.
Okay.
Oh,
Anything else on any of the new stuff before we move on to podcast questions?
I'm just excited.
I predict that
Yeah.
most of us will end up playing Pouncing Links for Syndra and not Mask of Momentum because damage fast is better than not damage fast.
I don't know.
I mean, we didn't talk about him at all, but Fang is actually the hero that I'm the most excited for out of all these new heroes.
Yeah, he needs a couple more cards, but he looks really cool too.
Yeah, it's we haven't seen enough for it yet, and the fact that there's another warrior that I'm very excited about that already exists makes it a little worse. But like
Alton.
those weapons are ridiculous. Like that like hero weapon combination is, I think maybe like the most powerful hero weapon combination we've got in like
You just get 2 Starfalls.
a while.
Roar's out here with 1 Starfall. You get 2.
It's like I feel like Zen was like the last time where we had something like this, where like you just like read a hero and a weapon, and you were
You
like,
get needles that don't break.
Oh.
Dude, this is insane.
well, and his hero ability is just like ridiculous as well. Like
The one thing that's kind of hard about decks like this, though, where they have like variable resource costs for their turns, where sometimes
Yeah,
they need
and
like
you
no
lose it.
resources and sometimes they need a lot. That's kind of hard to like deck build for, I think.
yeah, no, I think he presents an interesting puzzle, but it looks really good.
Well, we shall see if a warrior is able to be played for the
Wait,
first
we
time
haven't. One sec.
since LA.
Last spoiler thing we have to talk about is the new hat. So do y'all think it's like 0.8 of a traverse, 1.2 of a traverse, 0.2 of a traverse?
For
Wait,
for
which
people
new
who
hat?
don't for people who don't know, they're talking about
Yeah.
the hat for Arachne, that if you block a hero that is marked, you get to go search for whatever Demi hero Arachne version you want. And
Yeah,
then
you just
put
get
it-
to flip into whichever one you want. Although
Whenever
interestingly,
you defend, you flip into a random one. So like you're always flipping.
that's the
It's
interesting thing. Is like
Sometimes you
you
get to choose.
yeah.
Yeah. You're always
People were
flipping, but you
saying
get to choose who's marked.
this is close to traverse are just like foolish, right?
It's not even
No.
close to traverse, but it is a
Dude,
it is
it's
like
so
a
close
balance.
to
It
traverse.
feels
What do you
so far. It feels like a balanced traverse.
It's just
But
like
we'll see if that's
it's just
accurate.
defensive traverse because it's
Yeah.
only traverse on defense.
Okay, is that a
Because like
problem?
flipping into the trap one is like the only one that like immediately like nets you.
Yeah, but if you flip into the trap one and you're able to get like an inertia trap, for example, like they can't play every single turn planning for no arsenal, right?
Sure.
Like if you're able to get an inertia trap, you're essentially converting your hat to like 8 value.
Hmm.
Sounds like bouncing links.
I think it's we'll see. I think it's just like a matchup thing, right? Like
I haven't done the math on it, but it does seem traverse adjacent.
it's
That's what I'm saying. I think it's like 0.8 of a traverse. It's like close to a
So,
traverse, but
there was a season where I like for one of these events where we were testing for Zen, I like went through and it was like pretty easy to get 9 value out of traverse like every time. Assuming that you are eliminating any use cases where you like block traverse and make a Zen state and just like win the game off of it. But this is
someone
like
call that a defensive traverse.
yeah. But like you can I don't know. This just feels like it's probably harder to get the value as consistently. Is my
Yeah,
initial.
but
Also,
like when you flip a chi, you're usually negging a little bit of value. So like you're attacking with 100 wins for one.
yeah,
So
but
it's
you
like
might be
you're
negging
still, like-
value by marking the hero. So
Yeah.
it
Well,
might
we
be
don't
the
know
same
that.
thing.
Like if you're playing
Yeah,
a
we
0
don't
for
know.
3 that just marks, like you're not necessarily negging value.
I mean,
Like you're not forced to cast blue cards for one.
kind of depends on how you look at it. I mean, like 0 for 3 even without go again is like you're negging 1 value because it's bullet rate. But yeah. Whatever. The card's very good. The warrior hat is also very good.
Yeah,
I think
I
there's
was
some-
so excited to play Syndra, and then I saw the warrior hat. I was like, oh, I guess I just can't play Spreading Flames in this matchup. That's awkward.
I will say there is something to be said about Traverse's ability to be used on offense makes it inherently better than something that's only on defense
Yeah,
because attacking is better
that's-
than defending.
That's what I was
So,
saying. It's just like traverse
It's like
is
half as good even at its best point is my opinion.
well, and it's just I feel like this card is going to be like you use it when you need it or when it's convenient. But like you're probably going to be somewhat shoehorned into when you use this. Whereas like with traverse, it's just like you use it either when you need it and it'll be good, or you just use it whenever it's best value, or you can use it on offense or defense for very good value both ways. You can use it when you want to. If you just need to block 2 with it and the chi is just like kind of free on extra, like just on top. Like let's say you need to block an on hit and you just get an extra chi and you just play a tiger swipe. It's like, okay, whatever, that's still very good. Whereas this feels like it's like a lot more narrow. Like they have to be marked on their turn. It's like, okay, it's kind of interesting. Like there's, I don't know. We'll see. It's also just like, I don't know. I'll stop talking. I don't have a whole lot else to say.
Yeah,
It's very powerful.
I think 4 out of 6 outcomes though, like if you hit the one that gives +3 and go again, or the dagger attack +3, those are probably like the low rolls. That would be red back and tarantula. But I think if you hit any of the other 4, it's like decent enough of an upgrade to where you can still justify blocking with it when they're not marked.
Oh, sure. Yeah, that's another big thing is I think the fact that you just do it when it's random is still just like very.
Yeah, you're still like getting a good outcome 2/3 of the time, I think.
Cool. Okay. Podcast questions. These questions are asked by premium members of our Discord. If you'd like to be able to ask questions on the podcast, follow along with the Hero of the Month, watch any of our gameplay practices, get the Hero of the Month from last month, and a bunch of other pretty cool benefits,
Whoa.
sign up for the link below.
Sorry. I read a new spoiler while you were going over that.
Okay, first question here from Colton asks, if all of the Mystic Heroes plus Viscerai LL right now, what hero would you be most excited to play? Also, will you be at Memphis?
I think all
I
of
think
us
we're
are
all
going,
gonna be
right?
at Memphis.
Yeah,
Yes.
we're all
I feel like
We're
the
all
whole
going
team
to
is going.
Memphis.
Yeah.
How can you not go to Memphis? It's double calling.
So yes, we will all be at
Um,
Memphis.
Which would I be most excited about? Are we excluding the new heroes?
You can include them, I guess.
No.
Okay.
I'm assuming he's talking about new heroes included.
New heroes? Let me think about it.
Hatchet Dory.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the
Dude,
obvious answer.
Saying excited and Hatchet Dory should be a
Dude,
crime.
I love Hatchet
That
Dory.
deck's sweet.
What are you talking
What are you
Yeah,
about?
talking
there's
about?
no
love it,
better
but you don't
flesh
have
and blood
to-
experience.
Like the word excited, I think is just cannot.
No,
be
you
true.
just like you
you
get to
have
shut
clearly
off your
never
brain.
hit and swung a third hatchet in your life if you're saying this.
Yeah, have you ever played
Yeah.
Spillblood with an agility and a hit and run in your tunic up? Like I'm like actually serious. Have you done that before?
No, I've never done this.
Okay,
no.
do it and then come back to me.
It's just like the purest form of like extracting value and feeling good about it.
Yeah, all my beef was just with the word exciting. It can be effective.
No,
We're
no,
like
it's
pumped right
exciting.
No,
now,
no.
like,
I actually love playing the deck.
Dude, it's
and
awesome.
It was my favorite deck that I've brought to a major tournament in like
Yeah.
2 years.
I feel like
I don't know what to tell you.
it's
Like,
because like it's got to be like every pro's like dream. Like it's just this like it's pretty easy to play. You don't have a whole lot of decisions. You get to attack. You get to block. You're very flexible. You can be aggressive. You can be defensive, and like your opponent has so many opportunities to mess up. And you have like power cards, but you don't really need them. Like it's just like so like it's. I think it's like one of the best tournament decks ever. As well, which is
yeah, like when it's well positioned. Agreed.
I
yeah,
believe
like if I'm playing Hatchet Dory in a tournament and I feel good about it, like I feel so good about it because it's such a good tournament deck.
Yeah, I'm definitely down to play either the new Arachne or new the hero. I just want to disrupt my opponent's hand. I don't want to let them do all their fancy combo stuff.
I want to be excited for 5, but it's not there yet, I don't think.
Yeah, it's not too late though.
No. I mean, it's going to be hard to like replace Syndra with these cards. Like her spec card is just so ridiculous.
Agreed.
and with that said, I do think like Syndra, I'm pretty excited to play. And then I'm really excited to play the new Arachne that switches into all these forms, Marionette. I'm like really excited for this deck because that it's like a level of variance and variance control that I enjoy that I like. It's not nothing close to chain, but variance control in chain is an aspect of the chain deck that I really enjoy playing. Like having mastery over variance, and like this introduces enough of that you can game plan around, deck build around, and play your turns around. That gives me a similar feeling to those moments, and that's what makes me excited about Marionette. Now
I love
I
that
don't
we get to play it in
think,
draft.
yeah, I don't 100% think it might be playable out of the gate. I'm hoping it is, but with new running around, it might be a little difficult. So, but I am excited for that deck.
Yeah. My answer is just Fang and Hatchet Dory. I just want to play one of the warriors.
Rinzo asks, with all the information that's been released so far, what is the best hero in H&T and why?
It's Syndra, but that's
It's
because
Syndra.
we haven't gotten probably very important cards for the other heroes yet.
Agreed.
I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised if Arachne is just like ridiculous.
Yeah. But
Once you
with
start
what's
testing
released
it.
right now, I'm 100% saying it's Syndra.
No, with this current card pool, even.
I don't know. This new assassin card seems pretty hot. Do you see the
Yeah.
one that just got revealed like 5 minutes ago?
Yeah, the one that I said,
Yeah.
oh,
It's just like a blue 3 block, but you can discard it to copy a trap from your graveyard.
it's also a 0-for-1 stealth card. You just discard it, banish a trap from your grave, and you can just do that.
Yeah, and you get to like copy it. So like you just have utility if you. It's like a.
Is it a chaos?
Well, no, you don't
assassin
copy
card,
it. You may
please?
play it this turn. So like you get to it's,
That's what I'm saying. Like you get that trap effect on this turn.
but you also get to block 3. Like it's also just
You don't get to do both. You have to discard it.
no. I'm saying you get to block with the trap that you banish is what I mean.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But yeah, it's just more inertia traps, or it's just a nick target.
Yeah, I mean frailty. I mean, let's not discount frailty trap.
No, I would never.
Syndra's trying to attack you with 900 daggers, bro.
I would never. You can also play anaphylactic shock like 4 times.
And you
Which
can also
I-
play it 0 times because it won't be on your deck list. But
So well, I was of the same mind, but this new card I actually think makes that card a lot more playable. Just
I
like
disagree because for you know where it's actually really good is when your opponent CNC pummels you. You're like, yes, I can discard it to this pummel and get this nonsense card out of my hand. It's really good in that situation.
Okay. Cooney asks, do you get anxiety when playing in large events? If so, how do you deal with it?
I always get anxiety when I'm like doing well. I find if I'm like scrubbing, that's when I'm the
Mhm.
most like chilling, whatever, just enjoying the time. Uh, but if I'm still like in contention for top 8, especially like the last 3 rounds of day 2, is definitely when I get the most anxious. But I think what I've found as an effective strategy is just not thinking about the context of the event, but just keeping my same mindset of I just want to keep playing well. Clearly, I was playing well to get to this point. We'll pretend like there was no luck involved, right? It was just all playing well. And if I just like continue to play well, then I focus on that rather than focus on being anxious.
Yeah. I get a lot of anxiety, especially at day 2, like you were saying, around those times. And that's
Yeah.
almost like it's like very similar because it's almost every tournament I'm like in the money or fighting for the top. It's the top 8 or something, and then I fail anyway. But I get a lot of anxiety there, but like I like it. Like every time that I get that anxiety, like the first thing in my mind is like, this is why I play the game. It's like to feel this like scared, excited, like nervous feeling. And I'm like, I don't know, I enjoy those moments. Like, and that's one of the things I do is just remind myself that like this is why I play the game, is to feel these moments. Like this is what I'm doing.
Yeah, if you're ever anxious,
Yeah, I'm
you
with
can
you.
like look around at the crowd of people watching your game and just be like a little bit arrogant and be like, oh, they have no need to be anxious because they all scrubbed. But like I should be anxious because I'm still playing. So then you can like turn it into confidence.
I usually get the like can't sleep anxiety like before the event,
Oh yeah,
and
I
then
sleep
like
like 2
going
hours
into
on
day 2
Saturday
when
night.
I'm like alive.
I sleep like a baby. I love it.
Oh,
Yeah.
I wish I could. But like I usually don't get it anymore during the events. Maybe before like round 1 of like day 1, I'll sometimes get it still. But I think the best ways to like mitigate is one experience and then just like having your routine, right? Like usually I'll get the round 1 nerves going into the round. But then I'll like pop on my headphones and like just walk around and do my routine and focus up and forget about it.
Yeah, I only get round 1 nerves. I just haven't like I used to. It's been very bad for me in the past. Like I've gone through like full like I've had like panic attacks on stream at World Championships in card games. So like I understand having anxiety around these, but I kind of just haven't recently. I think it's just been experience for me. I don't really have any tricks, unfortunately. Basically everything you guys said. It's just smart. Just kind of focus on the game.
Routine
Like,
is always the answer.
it's really just not that it's not that important. I think like you can't there's no use worrying about it, I guess, right? Like obviously like that's everybody's thing. Obviously you can't control it.
Yeah.
But
Well, if
it
you can, it's like super plus, like Cody's saying. Like you can
Yeah.
learn to like channel
Yeah.
anxiety into like focus.
Yeah.
And like
Man,
excitement.
I thought some of your guys' answers were going to be different to this. Like, I get like pretty severe anxiety like end of day 2, but like it like fires me up.
I just
But
kind of
like,
like I've just
but
done
I
it.
but I know it's like
No, I'm just like in
Yeah,
a different
but-
world until I'm dead in the tournament. Like
interesting.
I'm not even like existing there. Like you guys try to talk to me, and I don't like.
I
no
just-
one knows what I'm saying. Like I don't like respond
Like
to
the
your
amount of
stories
times
correctly
I've
because
been
I'm, like, in my own
live
world.
going into the last 3 rounds of the tournament, right? I'll be live like 3 to the end or 2 to the end, which is where I typically always fail, is the second to last game. But like the amount of times I've been in that spot, or like right after I like finished draft and I like 3-0'd my pod and now we're going into the CC and I'm like, boom, if I just like X1 CC or 4-0 CC, I'm in. Like I get like super anxiety then, but then I get like super excited about it. Like
No, I can relate to that.
I've been like that in the past. Maybe it's just recently. I feel like an old man. Like I'm like the seasoned veteran now. Like I just kind of walk up. I'm like, well, we got the next round up.
I guess I probably have anxiety the entirety of the tournament. In hindsight, I just like
The
have
entire
learned to
You just have like a
channel it
baseline
and not let it
level
affect
of
me.
elevated
Yeah,
adrenaline.
my heart rate's probably more than it is on average for the whole event, but it doesn't like go up and down a whole lot. It's just kind of steadily like.
That's like what Cody said. That's why we go, dude. It's like a different way of being an adrenaline junkie. You're just doing it by moving around pieces of paper.
now, as soon as that kicks in, like I have almost no anxiety on day 1, but it's like as soon as it kicks in on day 2, I'm just like, oh, let's go. We're back in it. We're doing it again. I feel alive for the first time in like 4 months. Let's go.
Yep.
Like I am dead inside all the other times, and then now I'm finally alive. And it's like the same thing when you play on stream in big games or you play a top 8 game. You're like, I finally feel alive as a human being. There you go.
Yeah, I just
Other people who are listening might have the same feeling.
life and like my normal situation. So I don't need card games to tell me that I'm worth it.
Yeah. I don't know. The rest of my life, I have literally zero anxiety. Like if I have something to be nervous about, I just like.
Well, that's why we have such
handle it.
Experiences, bro.
Yeah.
Well, that makes a lot of sense. Okay.
Yeah. Everything else is already like planned out, ready to go. It's just calm. If something bad happens, I'm like, something bad happened. I'll take care of it. Like that's like my whole life is how I handle it. And then like terrible things can happen and I still don't feel it. I'll just be like, it's fine. And then card games day 2. Oh, let's go. I have emotions.
I can relate.
Okay. At least someone can. Yeah. Some of the listeners are going to relate to this and they'll have to let me know if I'm the only one out here.
Some of you guys are going to be like me and just think he's weird.
Okay, next question from Ryan. What is one thing that is underrated or not appreciated about attending a big tournament? Food after the tournament.
Yeah,
it's so good. Team meals.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. My first like gut reaction was having fun, just like being around your friends and your teammates and everything. But the more I thought about it, I feel like people do appreciate that and like people do recognize it and people talk about it. So I think for me, the like thing that people really don't talk about enough is like, at least for me, I have so much fun playing the game I really enjoy at a high level with people I've never met before.
Mm-hmm.
And I loved, like, I have so many like awesome games. Like I sit down, I meet my opponent, they're nice, they're pleasant, we play the game, we have fun, we talk about it after, and I just walk away like, I met this person. They were really nice. I had a really good time playing the game with them. And then I walked away and now I know this person. Like, I had a Viserai opponent at Portland who like I sat down to play against and like afterwards they were like all talking to me and like I played like 3 of the people in their hotel room or whatever. And it was just like, we were chatting up and I was signing cards and like, we were just shooting shit. And it was like meeting new people playing the game is so cool. Like outside of just touristy stuff and going to restaurants and everything, I think people just underestimate like how much fun it is to like play Flesh and Blood with other people that you like haven't played with before. Like it's just different at large events.
Yeah, especially if you're traveling like a large event in a different region than you are normally, where like you don't really know anybody there. And then when you're like making these friends with your opponents, then especially if it's like a 3-day event where like you played against them on Friday and you can be like, oh, I saw, you see their name on standings, you like congratulate them because they finished, like X1 day 1, they're like doing well, going to day 2, you like make this friendship in a day kind of thing, and you don't even need necessarily to interact after the tournament, but it's like in the whole weekend you're bonding and both wishing each other well. It's great.
Yeah, I think it's really nice having like the people you see every time too. Like there's like a family of like, I don't know, 120 of us that go to like every calling ever that you just see every month. So that's nice to like have that. I think the most underrated thing is the travel day though. And I think Cody shares this sentiment, if I remember correctly, that like the experience of like being at the airport and flying is just like you have like 6 hours where you have no choice but to just like chill out and play on your Switch or listen to an audiobook and like can't really do anything else. It's kind of, I don't know.
Oh, wait,
enjoy it.
I have one more thing too. That's a little bit underrated. Is if you're like going out with people either the day or 2 days before the tournament and like trying to interact with as many people as possible to get a pulse on the meta to make like the last minute decisions to your deck.
Oh yeah, everyone's just like scrambling like, oh, there's no Kanos, there's no Kanos.
Well, it's
exactly.
so funny because there's like this silent agreement that everybody is trying to like gain information and
of course, yeah.
But like you have to give some information to get information, but like nobody talks about it. Like when I tell you what hero I'm playing, like I expect you to tell me what cards are in your side deck, but I would never tell you that. It's implied.
Yeah, those conversations are amazing.
They're so
Yep.
silly.
I think the
Everybody
real
knows
answer is
what's
that
going
like
on.
absolutely every aspect of traveling is underrated for card games.
I agree. I
Like you
actually
guys.
like flying, so I'm in the same boat.
So
I
you
mean,
can say that because you're small.
sure,
Me too.
yes,
Yeah.
but also like growing up, I was like never on a plane. It was like not a thing that
Oh,
my
okay.
family could afford, and so like now I can just buy plane tickets and get a plane ticket. So I'm like, I never thought I'd be here. Now I'm on a plane. Like, you know, like I
No,
never
that's
thought I was
awesome.
gonna go to Japan, and now I
Little
can. And
Cody
it's just
seeing
like,
the flying
yeah, like
over.
like 11, 12-year-old me like sees me like jumping on planes like every other month and like flying to Japan. They'd be like, I can't wait. Like they're being so excited for me. And so like that's like that's why I love flying, because every time I get on a plane, I'm just like, look at me on a plane. King of the castle, king of the castle. That's like goes in my head every single time I get on a plane. It's great.
I'm so glad you shared
Okay.
that. That's a great story.
Kraft asks, what class do you think that LSS is most fearful of giving power to?
It's
Bolted.
Wizard and Illusionist.
It's Wizard.
That's
and
clearly
Illusionist.
Wizard, right? Like,
It's Wizard and Illusionist because those two heroes or those two classes win the game without your opponents say so the highest percentage of the time. They have the most amount of games where one of the players cannot interact.
But before
Cool.
this,
Question.
I would probably say Warrior.
Yeah,
They never
I
want to
said
give Warrior
Bolted
nice
immediately.
things.
There's classes that they don't give love to, like Warrior.
Yeah, yeah.
I
but
think
there's
the real
not-
answer is that they're not afraid, but
Yeah, I think it's like
Oh,
they
It's
are.
Vincent. It's 100% Vincent. They've admitted to it.
like Shadow.
I mean, there's a
Like-
lot of those heroes. I think if you're just looking at class, it's like when they're looking to make new
It's
cards.
Shadow Runeblade.
I mean, it's just anything that's like does something that breaks the game. They're more careful with, and Wizard and Illusionist are the classes that break the game the most because they scale, and for in Illusionist's sake, it snowballs, and like the game can be over on turn 2 with those classes quite a bit.
Yep.
So
Agreed. Inobi asks, we can all assume that Zen and Enigma should LL during the next RTN season.
well,
Do you believe New will follow right after? Probably before the next set comes out, or will it stay longer than expected? I think we talked about how I don't think Enigma is leaving during RTN.
I think New will likely die around PQ
Pro
Nats
Tour?
season.
Yeah.
I think it
Yeah, I
might be
think
legal
she'll-
for some nationals, but she's not. I don't think she makes it out of national season. I don't think that's reasonable,
Yeah, I think she might be like on the edge leading up to Pro Tour.
especially if the new cards are good. Like if the new cards are like actually good and are like a meaningful buff, then I think she's just
Yeah.
very quick.
Because even if she isn't the most powerful deck, the fact that she asks so many questions that your opponent has to get right constantly, or even has to get right in big moments, gives her so much more additional value than just how mathy her cards are printed.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, it just depends on adoption right there.
Millen asks, do we need a new ranger? If yes, what talent would you give it, or would it be talentless?
I would like to see them finally print a ranger that is like a fake ranger because we haven't really seen it before. But I would like to see a ranger with a weapon or a ranger whose main game plan is not load arrow, shoot arrow. We got that a little bit with Riptide, but that's just the fatigue Riptide decks being a little bit different. I don't think that's meaningfully different. I like doing some of the things that Ranger does, but I would like to see one that's not just load arrow, shoot arrow, or at
I
least
want a ranger with an animal companion, because
Or-
a lot of fantasy rangers have like a bear companion. So
cool.
I don't know how you adopt this into the game, but not as just like a hero that you play.
you
Like
just make
I
it
want to
like
start the
a-
game with my bear in play, and then
you just make
Go from
like
there.
your
Like it.
weapon like you have to like call an ally, and then that's your weapon, and then they can kill it, but like you like do it over and over again.
Mhm.
Be cool.
Yeah, I think we've talked about having a shadow, like shadow plus X is always just a cool combination. So some idea of like interacting with the banish zone as a ranger is like cool. I don't know whether it's a bow that like banishes the card from your hand and then like you shoot it from banished or something. But I have no problem with ranger being a ranger. Like shooting arrows is kind of what rangers do. Just
Yeah, I think we
I-
could use a
doing
new
it
one, but it has to be
It's you-
talented.
because you have to have a bow, because otherwise the whole ranger card pool doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
It's just I just would like to see one that has like something else. Like I want to be able to play a ranger deck that like plays generic attacks and plays a weapon that attacks and uh something like that. I don't know. Maybe it's unreasonable to ask for something like that, but
No, I feel like Rangers should be much cooler than it is. Like they kind of tried with the quivers to like spice it up. I don't know. I just feel like there's so much you can do there with like different types of arrows and bows.
yeah.
Yep.
It just feels like
And
the
It-
common
yeah.
ranger card pool is just not very interesting.
Yeah, it would be cool if they had a bow that was like how Voltaire was modal. Like you could choose to be go again or +1. Nothing on that power level I think should exist again, but something with modality I think would be cool. Where you could choose to be like a go wide versus go tall as part of the same hero.
Or like Cody's idea, like summon a little wolf or
Yeah,
load
that's
an
it.
arrow.
Yeah.
It
I
could be
don't
more
I
like
don't know.
mercenary style with like grenades or something too.
those are the other, fantasy tropes is like, tracking, animal companion, arrows. Like,
I think it would be cool if we got a ranger that like is just completely unlike any ranger we've seen before. That's like what I
Mhm.
want, because I don't want them to have a class where like I don't know. It just feels like every class has these cool cards, and there's just no cool ranger cards. They just like it's just like some of the traps, and then like 3 oak and some split cards. But like it just feels like the cool things that ranger does are just not seen or not used
Okay.
well.
Hero Mech Merc asks, what common misconceptions of Fab, either gameplay related or any other aspect of the hobby drives you the most crazy when you hear it?
I like only talk to fab people, so I don't experience this too much.
I think one that's a little bit annoying is that people view Fab as just a game where people who've been playing trading card games their whole life come to play after they get like fed up with their current game. But I think that there's a lot of overlap that could exist from other spheres. Like people often talk about how Fab is like more close to a fighting game, or just people in general who maybe like board games or like they have never even played any game sort of like this at all, that they could become good at it. You don't have to be like a card game veteran to start playing Fab.
I don't know. This is hard for me because like I've played a lot of card games in my life. Like since I was 10, I've played card games and a bunch of different ones. And to me, it's like if you've played any amount of card games, how are you not playing Fab? It is like legitimately one of the best card games I've ever played. That's my second favorite card game of all time. My only explanation is I've never actually played the game.
That's elitism would be my biggest thing. Is everybody who I've talked to that doesn't want to play Fab, the reason that they like don't play it, at least like for me, they'll give a lot of BS reasons, but like a lot of the time it's just because like they're kind of upset with the game, because when people play Fab, they play it like they just start being Fab players. Like my locals, like we've sniped so many people from other games, and like the people from the other games like don't like the Fab, like they don't like the game because they're like, you're taking our players.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to say. Like the perception is just Fab is like people from other games just go and play Fab now. That's like how you start playing.
The game's just too good for its own good because people are used to card games sucking. So when there's a good one, people get mad at it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Agreed.
I also, in a maybe a lighter tone, that you have to be sweaty in order to win a big event, and I just think that's not true. You can look at every top 8 from every tier 4 event, and there are always players in there who have just started playing the game, don't play the game at a hyper competitive level.
Are bad.
Sure, you can use that term as well. Or they're playing well and you've never heard of them before, and they're like, I just started playing 2 weeks ago, and you're like, you play fine. And like, I just think
it's a pretty big.
It's a little. I think it's a little overblown that like tier 4 events are only for like pro players that are ever going to top. That's just not true. We have tons of tier 4 events that are evident of that. So like even worlds, everything else. So like going out and taking your shot in this game is completely viable, just like it is in any other games. And I do hear that sometimes, like, I'm never going to win, so I'm not going to go. And it's just like, do you not see who's actually in top 8? Like, these are not anyone you've ever heard of before. Like that should be a good thing.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
This is you. Like literally, it's like
you have 0% chance of top 8ing if you don't enter the tournament.
Yeah.
And also, I think people talk about the game being expensive, which is definitely true. Like,
Right now, it's really expensive.
if you want to have a collection and be able to be like, okay, I can reasonably play like a couple different decks with any sideboard card, you're spending a lot of money. But the game is, I think, pretty welcoming towards like sealed, limited, draft, whatever that kind of play. Like there will be draft RTNs, there's already sealed callings being planned. So like you technically don't have to ball out on a full deck if you enjoy playing limited.
Your
And
cards.
if you like, I would say if you like start and you do decently well, maybe you get like some store credit or like you win a gold foil or something like that, and then that just converts into like the makings of your CC deck.
The cards are also just like good investments. Like they're at least not straight negative investments.
You're not
like playing,
setting
like
your money on fire.
yeah, like
No,
like
if you're
playing
smart
Fab
about
for
it,
a
like
year,
you can profit off of
Yeah.
your initial investment, even if you
Yeah.
just wait for
Like
the right time to
playing-
sell, because cards don't get banned typically in this game.
yeah, playing Yu-Gi-Oh for a
rotate.
year is like if you build every best deck, you're going to drop like a couple $1,000s, and then at the end of it, you're going to have like a Snickers bar. And then playing Fab for a year is like you're going to drop a couple hundred or like a couple $1,000s, a couple $1,000s a year, and then at the end of it, you're going to have a couple $1,000s worth of stuff. Like,
Yeah. I will say this, for the most of my career playing this game, I have disagreed with anyone who said this game was expensive. Obviously, it came from other card games where this was significantly cheaper, or you just were buying pieces that you would have forever and they'd be the same price. So I agreed with you. However, I will say right now, in the history of Fab, this game is way overpriced. Like Warmongers being like $100+ is ridiculous. Like some of these cards just being absolutely astronomical amounts of money right now. This is the first time ever I think it's actually a problem. Like
Yeah.
I think if I sold
and
my
it's not
collection
Tunic.
at like 5x,
Tunic isn't the problem. It's like Warmongers and all these other cards
Weakest
that like are
links.
Yeah, Warmongers,
Weakest Link,
Key Strike. You're just like dropping a G on.
There's-
like every
yeah,
playable
it's
expansion
ridiculous.
card, like
I think the other problem is that like the game can't. It's like in between where like most games either generic cards or like class or like archetype cards are expensive, but in this game like there are like you have to if you want to play like new you have to buy codexes, and if you want to play like whatever other deck, there's other expensive cards for each class. I don't know.
So quickly.
I don't have another good example off the top of my head. But then there's also generics that are expensive. So it's like you can't. It's hard to invest in just a deck, but it's also hard to like invest in generics because you still have to buy other cards.
Yeah, I think for the first time it's gotten pretty bad. And a lot of that is because of the sets that these cards that people want are bad. So like I don't think we're gonna have a similar issue with like Mistveil. Like people like opening that set. So there will be those cards available. Yeah, some of that stuff is a little expensive, but like you can actually buy a box of Mistveil and feel good about it. Yeah. You're not going to go like looking for a Warmongers and go buy a box. Like,
well, and if you don't
like,
hit Warmongers, you're very sad.
Yeah. But if I buy like a Mistveil looking for a couple of different cards and I pull something else, I'm just like, oh, this is cool. Like there's good stuff in the box, at least for now, right? But it's just like those really weak boxes that no one wants. The cards are too expensive out of them.
Well, the other problem is that like LSS just keeps like delivering when they say that cards will be good in the future. Like, God damn it! Like, can't you guys just be like wrong? Like, can't your cards just be as shit as we all think they are when they're first printed? Like, please. Like, that makes everyone's life so much easier.
Cool. Stoop Kid asks, last minute question in case you have time. We have time. What is Fab missing or needs to do better to truly scale like MTG or Pokemon? Well, time.
Time and also a casual player base because we don't have that. Because Magic had, even when like competitive Magic was super popular, there was a lot of like casual content and casual events and like MitGo, just like for fun stuff like Cube Draft online. Like that was it still is super popular. It had Commander in its early years. Obviously now it's taken over, but for a time that was just something that drew people into the game. Pokemon has the IP, right? Of just like people who play because they like playing Pokemon. But Fab is just like the majority of every game and its player base is the casual player base, and Fab doesn't have a huge casual player base, which is part of what makes it really good for a lot of people like us, is that they do focus a lot on the competitive game and making things competitive, but it is also a downside in terms of growth.
They need other media tie-in. It's really what they need. Like they need an Arcane series if they were going to make something like that.
Netflix show.
They just a Netflix show. They need
Or
like
Miko. I think not having an online client, while that's not going to change, that is, I think, a big deal, because Pokemon and Magic and Yu-Gi-Oh, like when they launch, like Arena and Master Duel are like two of the biggest, maybe the single two biggest successes in like card game history in like the last like 20 years.
Yeah.
In terms of
I played both, and I don't play either game, so that's
like literally like it's big, and I think Fab would be very successful if it launched something like that, but it never will. So it's limited.
Yu-Gi-Oh has years of video games and everything else, like, and a TV show and all the other stuff, like,
and IP.
And Pokemon is the same way. Yeah. And then like, Magic has been around for a million years. So it was like the first.
You're not gonna go mainstream because you're a card game. So Magic and Pokemon went mainstream, which is where all their success was. And Magic went mainstream for being a card game, and it was on ESPN, and then it wasn't good enough. And then when Magic started actually going mainstream again was when it was bought by Hasbro, and it was in Target every week being restocked. And when it had Arena that you could boot up and play for 10 minutes, never having played Magic before. And when, you could play with your League of Legends cards and your Fallout cards, even though, again, you've never played Magic, but your dad owned cards when you were 10 and you think Transformers are cool, so you go buy the new set. Fab doesn't have anything like that. Its draw is that it's the best card game, but you're not going to go mainstream with being the best card game because not enough people just play card games.
Yeah. Make a TV show, make a video game, and that'll be a massive improvement. Also, the characters are great. I just want to watch a TV show of the lore.
I think growing the local scenes is the biggest thing too. Like getting into more game stores. Like I think the Magic buff is that like you can get into this game knowing you can play every day of the week.
Yeah,
if you want.
Yeah,
and like some people just don't have a Flesh and Blood store. That's close enough, right?
Yeah.
But a lot of this is solved in time. As long as they continue to produce the game at a high level and they are driven, irregardless of how the year turns out, to continually grow the game and reinvest into the game, and they're willing to do this from the long haul, you will eventually keep picking up steam, because this game is very good at collecting people and then holding them for ransom, like once they finally get collected. And so like that is what it will keep happening if this goes on another 5, 10, 15 years. That's what it is.
I think the single most impactful change would be more Pro Tours in Japan.
Yes, I agree. If there was more Pro Tours and Worlds in Japan, I would agree. Give me an excuse to go back. Cool. Well, thanks for listening. Let's go. Let's get out of here. Goodbye, everybody.